Welcome everyone. I want to thank you all for joining our team today, and today we'll be going over this Clarity new interface training session. So, as with most of our meetings, to better organize questions the HMS Help Desk receives during our training, our team recommends that you submit your questions to the Q&A option down below. We request that you keep your questions general and related to the topics discussed in this training session. Agency-specific questions are best supported through a help desk ticket submission, so our team is able to further investigate and provide assistance with your request. Okay, so today's agenda will be split into two specific topics. The first being the primary navigation, which will go over the primary navigation menu, the client search, which is the default home screen and its new functions, our caseload widgets, client profile creation and decision pathways, client privacy, client household, and then the next section will focus on client navigation, specifically the history subtab, the program subtab, the services and assessments subtab, the care team subtab, the notes subtab, and finally the public alerts and files subtab. So to begin, the primary navigation menu. The primary navigation menu is located on the left side of the screen and is always visible to the user regardless of which page they're currently on. The following key pages are now housed under the primary navigation menu, those being the client search page, the referrals page, the reports page, and the attendance page. The primary navigation menu can either be collapsed or expanded depending on user preference. You should all be seeing a quick little GIF on the right-hand side of the screen, which demonstrates what this new interface looks like, and specifically the primary navigation menu with the client, referrals, reports, and attendance tabs. As you can see, that section specifically can be expanded or collapsed depending on how specific users like it, according to their own personal workflows. An updated information bar is located at the top of the screen and is always visible to the user regardless of which page they're currently on. The following items are now housed within this new information bar, those being a light and dark mode toggle, a global client search field, a switch interface, a user inbox, and the current staff member notification. As you can see, this little top information bar closely mimics what the information bar looks like on the previous interface, but it has been updated to address new functionalities. Client search. The client search page serves as the default home screen for all users, and users can search for client records by utilizing the search bar and entering name, either full name, first name, last name, or some combination thereof, unique identifier, social security number, either full or partial, date of birth, as well as birth year. In addition, a recently accessed clients list can now be found below the search bar and retains information about the most recent client records a user has either accessed or created. The eagle-eyed among you might notice that the recently accessed client list in the previous interface existed on a separate screen on the right-hand side, but this has now been moved to the primary search page right below the search bar for ease of use. Search screen new functions. Client search results can be filtered to more accurately search for clients. Users can utilize the filter icon to filter search results by name, either first name or last name, or by alias. Users can also customize the look of the search results by adding columns to the display using the column selector icon to easily identify more clients. And we've also included a link here for users to gain a more hands-on experience to practice searching for client records. Caseload widgets. Users can locate their caseload by utilizing the caseload widgets on the right-hand side of the client search page. The information from the user's current agency is included, such as active enrollments, which displays the number of active enrollments a user has either created or was assigned to, status due, which displays the number of upcoming, due, or past due annual assessments, and case manager, which displays the number of active referrals a user is currently assigned. Context about specific widgets can be found by selecting the information icon, and these widgets also appear on the client search page for ease of use, as they were previously located on a different page. And now I'll begin by going over a quick demonstration of the primary navigation menu. It'll give me just one moment to stop sharing my screen.
As Hugo is getting ready to share a demo, if our participants are able to, feel free to log into the training site and you can navigate along and practice the different workflow with the new Clarity interface.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up, Elizabeth. So before I begin, I want to double check. Amy and Elizabeth, can you see my screen right now? I should be on the brand new interface.
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
we can see your screen. And then just want to check in with everyone. Can everyone hear our audio? Please put a thumbs up or let us know in the chat if you can hear us okay.
Okay, great. So as everyone can see, this screen right now is the new updated home screen. Specifically, if we kind of start back in chronological order, I do want to point your attention to our primary navigation menu. The eagle-eyed among you might notice that this home screen looks quite different to the previous home screen. This new interface was primarily designed to further comply with HUD data requirement standards, as well as to provide a brand new interface that is more mobile accessible. So if we move over to the primary navigation menu, you can see right here we have our four tabs, those being the clients page, which serves as the primary page.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I could barely hear you, Hugo, and I think everyone is saying something in the chat as well.
Is that correct? Elizabeth and Amy, can you guys hear me, or is my audio coming out a little bit muted?
Thank you everyone for sharing. Hugo, I think your audio is a little bit muted. I think everyone else can hear maybe myself and Amy. It could just be your audio, Hugo. Do you want to try to just speak up a little bit into your mic?
Yeah, I can try that. How about now? Is this coming by a little bit clearer?
For me, yes, it's clearer. Can everyone just confirm? Yes, we're hearing that. It's better. Thank you, Hugo.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for letting me know about that. And sorry, everyone. So to kind of go through this new interface, I think it might be easiest to show you a before and after of this current interface in comparison with the old interface. So let me open up a new tab. Okay, great. So here we have the old interface that we're all fairly familiar with. As you can see, the primary navigation menu used to exist on the top hand side of the screen, those being the search page, the caseloads page, and the referrals page. However, if we navigate to our new primary navigation menu, this has been moved to the left-hand side of the page, and those new pages are the client search page, which remains the primary homepage for all users,
We get to this new page.
the referrals page, the reports page, as well as the attendance page. Here on the primary page, the client search page, you can search for users in the usual way, either by name, first, last, or some combination thereof, social security number, date of birth, or year of birth. In addition, as you can see, client caseload has been moved from a separate tab over to the right-hand side of the screen. As previously mentioned, you can click on specific caseload widgets to gain more information about that specific option. For example, active enrollments refers to the clients I have either created or was assigned to. As we can see here, if I click on that widget and give it a second to load, we can see all the interactive enrollments I was referred to. Same can be said for status due, which indicates annual assessments that are either upcoming or pending. So if I can click on that and let it load, that will indicate the assessments that are due for clients that I have been assigned to. And finally, the case manager widget, which indicates active referrals that I'm currently assigned to. However, this is currently 0 for me. I also want to introduce you to some additional functionality that exists within this new interface. Those being up here in the information bar are dark and light mode toggles. As you can see, in our previous interface, users were only able to really interact with it in a previous light only mode. However, this has been changed to allow users to update this mode depending on their preferences, whether they want to do so continuing in light mode or in dark mode. We can also see up here a global client search icon. If you are on a different page and need to quickly search for a client, you don't necessarily have to navigate all the way back to the client search page, otherwise known as the home page. You can do so by this global client search icon. In addition, we have our switch icon, which lets you switch from the new current interface to the old interface. However, since we will be transitioning into the new interface quite shortly, we don't recommend engaging with this toggle to go back to the old interface, as it could disrupt the process once the final switch occurs in this fall. Next, we have this inbox icon, which takes you to this inbox page where you can see any messages that have been securely sent to you through Clarity HMIS. Before we continue, I also want to point out that this specific rollout to this new interface is a gradual process. While many screens have been updated to this new interface, not all screens have been. For example, if I go back to the client search screen, this has been updated. But if I go over to, say, the report screen and click on that button, you can see that it'll automatically send me back to the old interface. Please note that this is not a bug. This is just how Clarity is deciding to roll out this new interface, as it will be conducted in various stages. And currently, at this point in time, the reports page is one of those pages that has not yet fully transitioned over into the new interface. Okay, and I think that was it for the moment in regards to the primary navigation menu. So I will go ahead and stop sharing and we'll go back to our new presentation. So moving on. So before I go ahead and show you how you can create new client profiles with the updated information, I want to pause and take a step back and go over the specific profile creation decision pathways, as this is an issue our team has seen an uptick in users not necessarily understanding how you're supposed to move forward with creating client profiles if needed. So to recap, as part of the client intake process, users are required to ask clients if they consent to share their information in OC HMIS. Client consent is not needed to ask for the information or to enter into HMIS. Client consent is needed specifically for data sharing purposes. Clients who provide consent to share their information should have their client profile set to public, while clients who do not provide consent should have their client profile set to private. Please note, however, that unaccompanied minor clients cannot provide consent to share the information and must have private client profiles created for them instead. So here I've created a little table underneath the decision pathways to indicate specific scenarios and results users must take. So following this table, if we go to scenario number 1, a client provides consent to share the information and also provides their personal protected information, otherwise known as PPI. The end result would be a user creates a public client profile with PPI. However, in scenario 2, if a client declines consent to share the information but still provides you with PPI, then the end result would be a user goes ahead and creates a private client profile that contains PPI. If you go over to our third scenario, client provides consent to information but does not provide their PPI, then the end result would be a user creates a public client profile with the consent refuse toggle enabled. Having the consent refuse toggle enabled will create an anonymous client profile that does not contain any personal protected information. And finally, if we move on to our last scenario, client declines consent to share information and does not provide PPI, then the end result would be the user creates a private client profile with the consent refuse toggle enabled. So moving on from these specific decision pathways, we can go ahead and go over to the actual profile creation. New client records can be created on the client search page by selecting the Add icon. On the client profile form that opens, record core data about the client. The following fields are required, those being the name field, as well as the data quality name field, the social security number field, as well as the quality of social security number field, date of birth field, as well as quality of date of birth field, race and ethnicity field, veteran status, and ROI permission. And once again, you can click here for more hands-on experience to practice creating new client records with an interactive tool that our vendor BitFocus has created for new users to help them transition into this new interface. In addition, I want to go over a new feature that is the information bar. In the client record, a client information bar is located at the top of the screen and is always visible to the user, regardless of which client subtab they're currently on. The client information bar will always display the following information, that being client name, client photo or initials if photo is not available, as well as the current privacy status. The client information bar may also display missing contact information, missing release of information records, and active public alerts if needed. The client unique identifier, otherwise known as the client UID, is now located in the client information bar and is visible if the user expands the section. And the GIF on the right-hand side of the screen should indicate what the specific client information bar looks like when you navigate to a client's profile. Client privacy. In the client record, the client privacy tab displays private data, consent refused options, and release of information data. To edit an existing release of information record, select the green checkmark icon next to the record, and then select the edit icon in the release of information form that opens. More information about a specific release of information record can be obtained by selecting the caret icon next to that record. To add a new release of information record, select the add icon and complete the fields in the new release of information form that opens. And once more, users can click here for more hands-on experience to practice adding release of information records within a client's profile, thanks to the new interactive tool our vendor Bitfocus has provided to us. And finally, client household, specifically adding members. In the client record, the client household tab displays the following household information, that being current household members, which lists the active members of the client's household, former household members, which lists the previous members of the client's household, and previous household history, which lists the prior households the client was a member in. Within the current household member section, users can add new members to the household by selecting the add icon, and new household members can be added by quick add from recently accessed client records, client search from existing client records, or they can do so by adding a new client record within that specific form that pops up. And finally, removing members. Under the current household members section, users can remove clients from the household by selecting the action menu icon next to the member's profile and then selecting the view household relation option. In the household member form that appears, select the edit icon and then enter the date the client will be exited from the household. The client's exit date cannot be earlier than their join date, and head of household status must be reassigned if the departing client is the current head of household. And once more, you can click here for hands-on experience to practice adding it and exiting clients from a household thanks to the interactive tool our vendor Bitfocus has provided to us. And now I'll go ahead by going over a quick demo of client profile creation, as well as the client privacy screen and the household screen. So once more, here we are on the home screen for all clients, and we'll go ahead by adding a new client profile. So on the client home screen, you can go ahead and click on the add icon, give it a second to load, add information using this new client form. Here, I'll go ahead and add a fictitious client profile. We'll start by adding the social security number. So this will just be a random set of numbers I generate. And then depending on the numbers you add, the quality of social security number field will auto-populate. Next, we'll go ahead and add name, last name, middle name, no suffix. We'll go ahead and update the quality of name field. We'll go ahead and select full name reported. And then the quality of date of birth field must be entered in before you actually enter in the date of birth field. I understand that this can be a bit confusing for some users, so please note that specifically for date of birth, this order is reversed. So we'll go ahead and type in full date of birth reported, and then in the date of birth field that populates, we'll go ahead and add that information. That all looks good. So we'll scroll down. Gender is an optional field, however, I will be adding it for this client. Race and ethnicity is a mandatory field, so I will go ahead and add that information. And then veteran status, I'll go ahead and select no for this client. Before I move on, I do want to note that veteran status is a field that only populates for clients over the age of 18 years old. So depending on the information that you add in the date of birth field, veteran status field may or may not populate for that specific client. Go ahead and skip the OC custom questions for now. And in this scenario, let's go ahead and assume that a client provided their personal protected information, but did not provide consent to share their information. In this example where they do not provide consent to share, I'll actually switch the permission from yes over to no, and then I'll click save. And then we get a little prompt letting you know that this client profile has been created successfully. Here I can go ahead and search for that client using the client search screen. Since I want to search for particular members of the household Baratheon, I'll go ahead and use this add a new filter option as previously mentioned. Go ahead and filter by last name, and I'll type in the name. Select enter. And they should populate all of the clients currently within OCHMIS with the specific last name. Here we have 3 clients, Lionel Baratheon, Ormond Baratheon, and the new client I recently created, Goen Baratheon. Now, to navigate specifically to the client's profile, I'll go ahead and click on a client profile. For this example, I'll proceed with using Lionel Baratheon's profile. As you can see here, we are now within the client's profile. As previously mentioned, some information is contained only within this updated client information bar, that being unique identifier. Please note that unique identifier is not located within the client profile, unfortunately. To locate that information, you have to navigate to this top-hand information bar. And as previously mentioned, this information bar will follow you regardless of where you are within the client's specific profile. So that's a nice little feature. In the information bar, we can see the client's unique identifier, the client's social security number, although for privacy reasons, only the last 4 digits are available, as well as the client's date of birth. Eagle-eyed among you might also notice that there is an active public alert available for this client, and if public alerts are available for a client, they will also appear here in the top-hand information bar. Since this is a public client record, we can see that this little privacy icon has an unlocked lock symbol, which will give you a very quick indication that this is a public profile. If it was a private profile, this lock symbol would be engaged and it would show a locked lock icon. I think to very quickly showcase that change, if we go back to client search, give it a moment to load, go back to our recently accessed clients list. Since I did just create this client, they do appear in this list. Go to Goen Baratheon. I can go ahead and update this information to change this to a private profile, and boom, private profile, which means that this specific client's profile will only be available to users at my specific agency, in this case, OC Training Agency. As you can see, since I did not select a release of information for this record, you can go and see this updated information bar indicates that there is no release of information record and one must be added for the specific client. If we go back to our main test client, give it just a second to load, Lionel Baratheon, we can see here on the client profile page, if you do need to stop and update information about a client's profile, you can do so on the client's profile subtab by clicking on this edit icon right here and update that information on an as-needed basis. If we navigate over to the privacy tab, we can see the client-specific release of information. Here, this client only has one release of information currently added. Their current permission is yes, type is attached PDF. Here we have their start and end dates. And if users want to gain more granular information about a specific release of information, they can do so by clicking on the specific record. They can do so by clicking on this caret icon on the left-hand side, and they can see more granular information, such as who created the record, in this case, Hugo Ambrose from OC Training Agency, and any changes that have been made to that record. For example, this record has been updated by Amy Lazari from Primary Agency System on this specific date. If you need to edit a release of information, you can do so by clicking on the green checkmark icon, and do so by clicking on the pencil edit icon that appears in the new window, and go ahead and update the information on an as-needed basis. If you do need to add a new release of information, once more, you can do so by clicking on this add icon, and then updating the release of information. Let's say, for example, this client updated the permission to know. I would indicate the start date, end date, and then click save. However, for this specific example, I will not be doing so. I'll go ahead and discard these changes and switch over to the household tab. Here we can see the client's current household. This current household member section will automatically be expanded because Clarity feels that it would be most beneficial for users to currently indicate which clients are active within a specific client profile. However, if you do want more granular information about, let's say, for example, former household members, you can go ahead and expand this section out and see which former members were in this client's household. And finally, previous household history of which prior households this member was a part of but is no longer a member of. I do want to very quickly note that many users will have this secondary panel automatically engaged, which will indicate some additional information or some additional widgets about a specific client profile. However, for the purposes of this demonstration, I won't be necessarily interacting with this too much. However, if you do want a quick snapshot of, let's say, a client's current household, active programs, active services, events, contacts, and care team, you can keep this specific side panel engaged. However, for the purposes of this demonstration, I will go ahead and disengage the side panel. Here we can see current household members. And let's say, for example, I want to add the new household member that I recently created. I can do so by clicking on the add icon. And then I can do so, as previously mentioned, in one of three ways. I can do so by searching for that specific client record using name, date of birth, social security number, or some combination thereof. Or I can do so by very quickly accessing the recently accessed clients list, which will indicate the clients that I have either recently created or were recently engaged with in OCHMIS. However, if I do need to create a brand new client profile, I can do so right here within this Add New Household Member screen by clicking on the Add Profile button. However, for this example, I'll go ahead and add the client profile I just recently created. So let's say I will add Goin Baratheon. I'll click Next. I will select the member type. I will click Brother, join household date, save. And then we can see this task has been saved. If you do need to exit a member from a household, you can do so by navigating right back to the household tab. Under current household members, you will scroll all the way to the right-hand side of the screen. And then under show more action icons, you'll click on that button and click on view household relation. From here, a new page will appear on the right-hand side of the screen, and you can click on the edit icon to edit the specific member status. I will go ahead and exit this member out and then click Save. And you can see this member is no longer currently listed as an active member of this user Lionel Baratheon's account. However, they should now appear under former household members. We can see that Goin Baratheon is now listed as a former household member of Lionel Baratheon's household. And I do believe that is all for my portion of this demonstration. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Before you stop sharing, we did have a question that I wanted you to kind of walk through if you can.
Oh, no problem.
Yes, there was a question if we can edit or review the SSN, and if you just want to go ahead and click on the profile tab and kind of show where that information is and how we review and edit that.
Right. So social security number should be under edit. And then we can see right here in this edit screen, in addition to social security number, we also have these core data fields such as name, date of birth, etc. But if you do want to specifically edit social security number, you can do so in this screen by clicking on the edit field icon. And please know that social security numbers are treated a little bit differently than other fields within OCHMIS, since they have additional protections added to them, given their very delicate status within a specific client's life. So if you do want to edit a social security number field, you will go ahead and go through an additional prompt indicating that you understand that you are editing a very delicate field and that your specific edit will be automatically logged for auditing purposes. In case any mistakes were made, we can kind of track that chain of events that led to specific edits being made to social security number. So I'll go ahead and click confirm, and this will let me edit the field. If I, let's say, discard changes, if I simply want to view a client's social security number, I can also do so by clicking on the edit icon and then click. Well, I think I have to click the edit icon. It used to show me if I click the shield icon, but I believe they might have updated it. So I'll go ahead and click edit. So if I just need to view the field, I also need to click the pencil edit icon, and that'll show me the social security number. From here, I can either leave it as is, or as previously mentioned, I can edit it. And once more, if you do need to edit or view a client's social security number, just keep in mind that record will be automatically logged for auditing purposes. And I believe that's it in regards to social security number. I'll go ahead and discard any changes I made. I do want to pause, Elizabeth. Were there any other questions in regards to client profile, privacy, household, or creating a new record?
Yes, Hugo, we did have one more question. If you could just do the walkthrough of removing a household member one more time. And just wanted to remind a friendly note for everyone that our training is recorded and will be available on our website shortly after this training. So please keep an eye out for our recap newsletter where you can access the recording as well, so you can review again as needed.
Right. Okay. So let me go back to the client search page to kind of give you the full overall walkthrough. So here on the client search page, you can go ahead and search for that specific client profile where you need to make edits to that otherwise overarching global profile. In this example, I will navigate to Lionel Baratheon's account. However, if he does not appear under my recently accessed lists, I can go ahead and search him by name. Click on his profile. Here within the client profile, I will navigate to the household tab. Click on that. And then I will navigate to household members, and I will make edits to the specific household member that needs to be exited. If a member needs to be exited, I will navigate my cursor over to the right-hand side of the screen and click on these three little dots, which is the show more actions icon. I'll click here and I'll click on view household relation. By clicking on this option, it'll update the secondary screen, which will let me edit the household member status. I'll go ahead and click on the pencil edit icon, and then I can go ahead and exit the client from the household by entering in an exit date. Let's say the client was exited on today's date. I won't be processing this information, but if you do need to exit a client, this is the specific workflow. And after you do type in the exit date, you can go ahead and click on the save icon, and that will automatically process this information. I do want to also pause and quickly note once more that if you are exiting the head of household from an overarching global household, before you can do so, you will need to reassign a new head of household. So let's say, for example, I was going to exit out Lionel Baratheon from this household. I would go ahead, go through the same workflow, and then I would first need to reassign head of household before I can exit this specific member because they are currently listed as the current head of household. Hopefully that makes sense for everyone. Do want to pause once more. Elizabeth, were there any additional questions or comments users had about this section?
Hugo has done a great job covering everything else up to this point. What we'll be focusing the remainder of our time on today is reviewing the client navigation tabs on the client navigation menu. These were formerly the tab options that are available at the top of the client record as captured by the orange box in the top right image here. The client navigation menu is now located on the left side of the client profile screen and is accessible to users regardless of where they click around in the client's record. The client navigation menu can also be collapsed or expanded at any time by clicking the sideways caret icon on the left side of the menu. The following screens, listed by bullet point here, are accessible from the client navigation menu. We will be going through the features that are in bold on this slide. These include history, programs, services, assessments, care team, notes, and a new tab option called alerts. And finally, the files tab we'll be reviewing. Since you guys already covered the profile screens during the client profile creation walkthrough, we will begin our review with the history tab. The history tab is the central hub of the client's past interactions, such as service items, program enrollments, referrals and reservations, assessments, and coordinated entry events. Each interaction will have its own icon to indicate the interaction type, and these icons mirror those on the client navigation menu. For example, the icon indicating services will always appear as a clipboard with a check mark. Some interactions will have additional icons, such as a dollar symbol, which indicate that an expense amount is associated with the service. Users will note the start and end date for each interaction, and if the enrollment or referral is still active, the end date will stay active. A search bar is also located at the top of the history screen, which allows users to keyword search for a specific event or event type. The advanced search options available under the current interface are also available within the new interface. Users can select the upside-down triangle to access a list of filtering options. The filter option of type allows users to filter by granular events such as assessments, program enrollments, referrals, services, or coordinated entry events. Users can remove specific search filters by clicking the X icon next to any filters appearing in the search bar, or click the X next to the search bar to remove all filters. The next tab in the client navigation menu is Program. The Programs tab includes the client's program history and is where users can add and manage program enrollments for their agency. From the program history screen, users can click on the Show Hide button to reorder or collapse the entry date, exit date, or created by fields. Click on any current or past enrollments to view, edit, or manage information for your agency projects. When users are ready to open an enrollment, they could click on the Add Plus button to open the enrollment module. When users have selected the Add button to open a new project enrollment, they'll notice the workflow module broken into 3 stages. The user will first select the desired project from the list of projects available under their agency and click Next. Users can then add any members from the client's global household to the project enrollment by toggling the button next to the member's name. The third and final step is to complete the enrollment screen for each client joining the project. Click Save and Complete. Once the enrollment information has been completed for each member joining the project, the enrollment will appear under each client's program enrollment history. As you can see here, I click the Add button. It'll generate a list of my projects for my agency. I will select my project of interest, click Next, toggle the button for any household members I would like to add, click Next, which will take me to the project enrollment screen, and it has all the traditional questions you would expect for the project enrollment. An added feature within the new interface is the alert that users may see when attempting to add household members to a head of households enrollment. The system will display a currently enrolled label for any members who are already actively enrolled in the same program you are in the process of enrolling the head of household into. If a user ignores this warning and clicks Next, the system will allow that member to be enrolled again, resulting in duplicate active enrollments in the same project with differing start dates. So please avoid this. Instead, complete the enrollment for the head of household and any additional non-enrolled global household members only. The agency administrator may then contact the help desk and submit a program merge ticket to request the other members' enrollments be merged into a single group with the head of household. Another feature within the new interface is the workflow around the referral-connected enrollments. This information is specifically for coordinated entry housing providers to take note of. For clients with a pending housing referral through the coordinated entry system, a referral-linked enrollment may be created by enrolling the client into the housing project corresponding to the match. When the client is enrolled in the project that matches their pending housing referral, a referral linkage will automatically be created for that enrollment. No more being conscious of having to make sure that this enrollment is a result of a referral button is toggled on to create a referral connected enrollment. The housing provider can then navigate back to the program tab and view the client's enrollment history. A link icon, as pictured here in the bottom snapshot in the yellow box, will appear next to any referral connected enrollments. Once a client has been enrolled into a project, the enrollment can then be viewed and/or modified under the program enrollment history by clicking on the Programs tab. Once viewing the program history, click on the Enrollment to open or view the enrollment information. From the Enrollment Navigation menu, seen in the orange box here, you can view or modify such entries as enrollment entry responses that might be incomplete, missing, or erroneous. You have the option to set the enrollment to private. You can also view and manage household members for the enrollment. You may also view and manage services, assessments, notes, and files at the project level. You may also update the assigned staff information or exit the client from the enrollment. Finally, if users would like to explore an interactive guided demo of how to enroll clients into a program, they can click on the link available for program enrollments in the Google Links doc. As Hugo mentioned previously, this is a tool that our vendor Bitfocus has provided, and it is really excellent as it walks users through each step and allows you to click on the different fields in the screen. I will now be demoing how to open a new project enrollment or how to view and edit the enrollment information under the Program tab. Allow me just a moment to stop sharing and I'll set up on the. I will now be demoing how to open a new project enrollment and how to review or edit that information under the Program tab. To open a new project enrollment, I'll first navigate to the Programs tab on the Client Navigation menu. Next, I'll briefly review the client's enrollment history to verify that they don't currently have an active enrollment in the project I need to open. If I still need to open an enrollment, I'll begin by clicking the Add Plus button on the top right of the screen. This will open the Add Program Enrollment module. Step 1 is to select the program in which I'm trying to enroll my client into. Within this section, I'll see a list of programs available to my agency. I can also click the caret icon to drop down and review project descriptor information about the project I'm interested in enrolling my client into. Once I've highlighted the project to enroll the client into, I'll select Next. Step 2 allows me to add additional household members that are currently enrolled in the client's global household. This is optional. As I mentioned, if you do see that flag there for somebody who's already enrolled the project, the system will let you know with that warning. So please don't enroll any household members who are currently enrolled in the same project. But if I want to go ahead and enroll Ormond Baratheon, I can at this time because they are not currently enrolled in the same project. If have added all my household members or decided to move forward, I can click the Next button. And that takes me to step 3, which is the client enrollment screen. And this is your traditional series of enrollment questions that users are familiar with. I will go ahead and make sure that all of my required fields are complete. And if I've completed all my enrollment information, I'll hit save. And I'll get the alert that says that I have now finished the task. I'll select complete. And this will take me back to the program history screen. So now if I were to review the client's programs by clicking on the Programs tab again under the Program Enrollment History, I can now see that my client is enrolled in the ESG-funded Homeless Prevention Training Project. I can also click on the enrollment to open it or view any data for that enrollment. Additionally, if I decide to make the project enrollment private, I can do so by clicking on the lock icon here. If I wanted to make any edits to the entry data, I can do so from this screen by clicking the edit icon. And if I have agency administrator access, I can also click on the three vertical dots here for show more actions, and I can select delete to delete this person's enrollment if I needed to. And that concludes our walkthrough of the Programs tab on the Client Navigation menu. I'll be switching back to our slides now momentarily, and we'll continue with our training. The next few slides, we will review the Services and Assessments tabs before going through another live demo of those features. The Services tab includes all service history, including agency and program level, and the functionality to view and manage those services. Please note that I will only be covering how to add services at the program level. Staff will rarely, if ever, enter services at the agency level, meaning directly from the main Services tab. I would like to review some of the features on the screen. However, please note that the service history screen will display the service name, service start and end date, and the created by fields for all previously recorded services in the client's record. Users can use the Show Hide Fields option next to a search bar to change the order or collapse these fields to appear when users click on the drop-down caret. And finally, a door icon will appear to the right of a service, and this indicates that a service was entered at the project level. And dollar icons next to any service indicate that an expense amount was recorded with the service. So as you can see here in my recording, I'm hovering over the door tab to see that it was project level. And I can also open it up to view service details, which we'll cover in the next slide. When viewing entries under the Service tab, users can click on any of the services recorded by their agency to open up the Service Details view for more information about that service. Within the Service Details section, there is additional information about the service dates, location, and time tracking, or expense amount, assuming those features were enabled for that service item. As mentioned, the majority of services are set up and entered under a project enrollment. To access and add services at a project level, go to the Client Navigation menu and select Programs. Locate the enrollment under the enrollment history and click on it to open the enrollment. Find and select the Services button under the Enrollment Navigation menu. Click the Add Plus icon to view services and open the Service module to view any service items available for that project. Select the service item you want to record, and if desired, users may also select the lock icon to set the service to private. Complete the service item information and select Save and to complete the record for the service. So I guess here I'm adding a new service using the plus button. So I've opened up the project, clicked the Services tab, and I'm clicking the Add Service button to open the service module. Once I've clicked Add, it'll open my service module, and I could click the service item I'm interested in. I'll select Next, find my service item available for the service, and complete the fields that are available for that service, including time tracking or expense amount if it's available. You may also include a note. Save, hit complete, and that will take you back to the program level services history. Deleting and editing service items. Users may edit or delete services from either the Services tab within the Enrollment Navigation menu or from the Services tab on the Client Navigation menu. The process is the same for both. To delete a service, click on the service to view the service details, then select the three vertical dots to show more actions and select Delete. To edit details of an existing service, click on the Edit pencil icon to open the service details. Edit any of the fields and or set the service to private by clicking on the lock icon. Note that users who are switched into an agency that is different from the one that provided the service will not be able to edit or delete the service anywhere in the record. Once again, you can click on the services demonstration link in the Google Doc for an interactive guided demo of how to add program level services. The Assessments tab. The Assessment tab includes all assessment history and the ability to modify or delete program level assessments depending on a user's access role. Users can open the user access role rights chart linked in the Google Doc to see which of the access role types have the ability to edit or delete assessments. For now, we will briefly review the features of the Assessments tab and within the Client Navigation menu before exploring how to create and manage assessments at the program level. The Assessments tab within the Client Navigation menu includes a search bar that is located within the page. You can use this to quickly find a specific assessment previously recorded for the client. You may use the Show Hide feature in order to reorder or collapse assessment history information. You can also hover over the door icon to see which project completed the assessment. To view, modify, or delete assessments, click on any assessment created by your agency. This will open the assessment's detail view. And here, users with agency administrator level access will be able to find the delete function available via the 3 vertical dots. To complete an assessment available for a specific project, users will need to then navigate to the Programs tab, which is that door icon. When you've opened up your project, you're going to go ahead and navigate to the Assessments tab. Select the Add button, and then from the list of assessments, select the assessment that you need to complete. Once you've completed the fields for the assessment, or if desired, you've set it to private, you would then save and close. This assessment would then be recorded under that Assessments tab. And anytime you need to go back and edit responses, you could do so by clicking the Edit icon and then go ahead and make any changes to the fields that you're interested in. Additionally, assessments can be deleted by agency administrators from the edit screen as well by clicking the 3 vertical dots and clicking delete. So as you can see here, I opened up my Assessments tab, found my assessment of interest. I've completed my questions. I'll select complete, and now it'll appear available under the program assessment history. Users may also edit or delete assessments depending on their access role type, as I previously stated. And this can be done from either under the program enrollment or from the Services tab of the Client Navigation menu. And the process is the same for both.
I was trying to get.
To delete an assessment from the Assessments tab, click on an assessment to open it, view the details, select the 3 vertical dots for more action, and select delete. Once again, only agency administrators have the edit permissions to go ahead and delete assessments. To edit an assessment from the Assessment tab, you'll select the pencil icon to edit the assessment. You can go ahead and edit the date or any of the responses. And then edits to assessments should only be made if the original responses that were recorded are inaccurate or incorrect. For this next demo, I'll review the steps to create and review the details of a service and an assessment. Allow me just a moment to go ahead and switch back over to the training site. Continuing on, in order to create a new service, I'll navigate to the Program tab of the Client Navigation menu. Remember that most services are configured at the program level and linked to your agency's projects. From here, I'll go ahead and find the project that I'm interested in logging a service under. I'll do so by clicking on it, and it will open up the project level view. This here is the Enrollment Navigation menu. From the Enrollment Navigation menu, I will select Services. As you can see here, I don't have any services entered underneath this project yet. To do so, I will click on the Add button. I will select one of the services that are available for this project. In this case, I think I'll just select Case Management and then Next. And the only service item available for this service would be Case Management Session. I will select Next. I can edit the date if needed, as well as the end date. This service is configured to add a location via the geolocation feature, as well as has time tracking enabled. So if I need to log a specific time amount for the case management provided, I could do so. And I can include a note here. Once I've added all of my fields, I'll go ahead and select Save and Complete. And now I can see that the service is registered under the service history of the Services tab in the enrollment. If I wanted to edit or delete this service from underneath the program enrollment, I can do so by clicking on the opening up the service once more, and this will give me the service details view. From the service detail view, I can edit by clicking the pencil icon. You'll notice that the lock icon is here as well. So if I wanted to make this service private, I could do so by clicking on the lock icon. Here I can edit any of the fields that I need to correct. Since I'm not going to be making any notes or edits today, I'll go ahead and close that. Going back to my service details, if I wanted to delete this service, I could do so by clicking the Show More Actions, which are the 3 vertical dots here. And I could select Delete if I then wanted to delete this service. And all users with data entry access have the ability to delete services for their projects. Now, if I wanted to add an assessment within the project enrollment, I could do so by clicking on the Assessments tab. The process is very similar to services. I can see my program assessments history here for this enrollment. I don't see any existing assessments yet for this project, so I'll go ahead and click Add. These are the assessments that are set up for my project. I'll go ahead and complete a current living situation assessment. Select Next. I can edit the date, set my current living situation type, and include location information if desired. I'll select Save and Complete, and voila, I now have an assessment recorded under this enrollment. Similarly, if I wanted to edit this assessment, I would click on it to open it back up and see the assessment's details. You can see all of my responses. If anything is incorrect or missing, I can click the pencil icon to correct that. Going back, I'll click on it once more to open up the assessment details information. I'll click on the 3 vertical dots. If I'd like to delete this assessment, I would click the Delete button. But please note that unlike services, only staff with agency administrator access can actually find this button to delete assessments. So we'll go ahead and navigate back here to my program assessments history. I wanted to note that if I were to go back to my client navigation menu, if I were to click on the Services tab here, I would find all of my services that were recorded at the program level would be available here. It has that door icon letting me know the service was recorded at the program level. I can also find any services that were logged by my agency. In the services view, click on it to open and find the service details and complete the same functions I would under the project enrollment. I could click the edit icon to make my edits. And if I'm an agency administrator or an agency staff, I should find the delete option here. Going to the Assessments tab in the Client Navigation menu once more, I could find an assessment opened by my agency. If I am an agency staff, I'll have the edit icon available to me. If I am agency administrator, I would have both the edit icon and the delete functionality available for me to delete an assessment. Includes my demonstration of the services and assessments at the project level and the agency level from the client navigation menu.
Hey, Amy, before you move on, I did see a question about assessments in the Q&A. Kind of recap, Cambridge let us know that she saw that the current living situation assessment under the program enrollment does not have the option to geotag the client's location. So she wants to know if geotags will be present in the current living situation assessments once the HMIS transition occurs. I don't know if that's something Amy, you or Elizabeth wanted to kind of give a brief overview, because I know you just went over current living situation assessments.
Yes, I can add a quick update. There was an update that it was under a different training agency that wasn't enabled, but it is enabled. As Amy mentioned, she was going through the workflow. If you want to share it really quick, Amy, on your screen, the geolocation function.
So now I'm back under the record. I'll go to programs. I'll go ahead and open up my individual coordinated entry system. Click on assessments, and I can go ahead and add an assessment here. Should have the current living situation assessment available within this project. So I believe Cambridge, to answer your question, most projects are set up to require the current living situation depending on the project type. So if it's configured that way, it should include the optional geolocation.
So as you can see, there is an option if you don't know the exact location, you can type in the city or the zip, and you can save that as the pinpoint, just that pin for that location.
You can also click around on the map. So if you're not really sure, sometimes what I've done in the past is I know the general area, but then I need to look at the map and I'll be like, oh, that's right. It was at the Everest College. So you can just click on it and double check the address based on what you clicked on. If it looks correct, you go ahead and click confirm location. And you can always go back and edit or delete the location as well. Any other questions concerning the current living situation assessment?
No additional questions, but please, everyone, feel free to add a question in the Q&A. If we didn't get to address your question yet, please feel free to add it and we'll circle back.
All right, for our next section, we will review the Care Team, Notes, Alerts, and Files tabs available on the Client Navigation menu, and wrap up our review of the new Clarity interface with a live demo of those features. The Care Team tab includes all assigned staff from the client's active program enrollments, as well as any staff members manually added to the team who are involved in the client's care but aren't on the assigned staff list when an enrollment is created. Users can find the Care Team information under the Care Team tab of the Client Navigation menu. Click on the View Hide Fields icon to rearrange the order or appearance of the care teams. Agency administrators can manually add care team members, and any members manually added can be edited by selecting the 3 vertical dots next to that person's name. Users can add or remove their email and phone number information by clicking their agency dropdown and selecting their account settings. As you can see in the bottom picture in the top right, in the orange box, I've selected my agency dropdown, and then the little person next to the gear icon is where the agency settings are located, where I can adjust my information. So just be aware that if you don't want your phone number to be shared, or you do want it to be shared, that's where you would include that information. Moving on to the Notes tab. The Notes tab includes all notes and the ability to add or manage those notes. Notes available to users here will display under the notes history and include the name and agency of all staff members who created the notes. It also includes the category as well as the date the note was created or last modified. You may use the Show Hide Fields icon to change the order or collapse information about the notes. Hovering over the note icon displays the note text, and hovering over the dart icon displays the name of the project the note was entered under. You may select the Add Plus icon to create an agency level note. So when adding program notes at the agency level, please note that these types of notes are viewable by all agencies, and they're able to be accessed simply by clicking on the Notes tab. To add a new program note, though, you would need to navigate back to the Program tab, open your applicable project enrollment, and click on the Notes tab. You'll go ahead and click the Add Plus icon and enter your notes detail. If needed, here's where you would find the lock icon to then set the note to private. Notes can be added from within enrollments, and those notes added within enrollments will also appear under the Main Notes tab from the Client Navigation menu. Notes, whether they are added under the enrollment or at the agency level, are viewable from that Notes tab on the Client Navigation menu and can also be edited or deleted from there. To delete an existing note, you're going to move forward by clicking on the note to open it. Select the edit icon to begin editing. To delete an existing note, open the note and select the 3 vertical dots to click delete. The delete function note is only available to the agency administrator level access role type. The Alerts tab is available only in the new Clarity interface. It does not exist as a standalone tab in the current interface. This tab is found on the Client Navigation menu and includes public alert history and the ability to add or manage public alerts. When the user clicks on the Add icon, the Add Alert module will appear on the right side of the screen. When creating a new public alert, users must enter a title for the alert, as well as an expiration date and a message. There are a few public alert best practices I would like to share today. Please avoid using harsh or non-person-centered language that discloses any sensitive client status. Please also avoid setting expiration dates that are too far out into the future, for example, more than 90 days. And when selecting the private checkbox, please note that it will make the public alert visible only to staff members within your agency. So if you don't select it, the public alert will then be available to be viewed by all agency staff. Client records with a public alert will have a warning displayed at the top right of the client information bar, as Hugo pointed out at the top of our training. If a user hovers over the alert, a list of active alerts for the client will be displayed. Users can click the drop-down arrow to see additional information about a specific alert. When a user clicks the Public Alert button, they are taken to the Alerts tab to view, edit, or delete the existing alert. Public alerts can only be deleted by users with agency administrator level access role type. As you can see here, I'm clicking on the public alert. If I click the drop down, I can see a snapshot of the information, or I can click on the public alert itself and it will take me to the public alerts tab and I can edit from there. The Files tab. The Files tab includes file history and the ability to add and manage files at the agency and program levels. To add program level files, you're going to need to navigate to the Programs tab, open the project, and find the Files tab within the client's enrollment. Select the most appropriate category and predefined name for the file. Toggle the privacy button to prohibit the uploaded file from being shared with staff members at other agencies. Users can also click and drag to drop files or choose the upload button to select a file from their computer or device. To save a file, click Save, and once the file upload process is complete, you'll be taken back to the Files tab within the project enrollment. Next, to view, add, or delete files under the program level, you're going to go ahead and navigate to the Programs tab again. Excuse me, I believe If you want to go ahead and edit or delete those tabs, you're going to go ahead and go back to the Programs tab, open that enrollment and find your file. You'll see the pencil icon there to edit your file if needed, or if you are an agency administrator, you should have the ability to delete it. So now we'll go ahead and go through a quick demo of the Care Team, the Alerts, Notes, and Files tabs. Allow me just a moment to stop sharing and we'll move over to our training site. For our final demo, I'll be reviewing how to update Care Team information, add program level notes and files, and finally add a public alert to the client's record. To access the Care Team information, select the Care Team button from the Client Navigation menu. When viewing Care Team information, users can see current active Care Team assigned to the different projects, as well as previous inactive Care Team members. Staff who are agency administrators will find the option to manually add additional Care Team staff and to potentially edit, delete, or modify existing Care Team staff that they've manually added. Some things to note about the Care Team fields. You'll be able to distinguish whether or not a Care Team member was added automatically through an enrollment or manually by an agency administrator. You can also view any phone numbers or emails that staff member has chosen to include in their Clarity account. To add a Care Team staff manually, an agency administrator will select the Add Plus button, find the user they'd like to assign from the list of users from their agency, select the start date that member began providing services to the client, and if they have any email or phone number information that has been added to their Clarity account and they want that to be public to other staff, they can select the Public button and hit Save. Now I can see that this Care Team member has been manually added, whereas this one was automatically assigned through an enrollment. Some existing circumstances in which an agency administrator would need to edit a Care Team member would be if that Care Team member that was manually assigned has left the agency and no other Care Team member is taking over their caseload. If that's the case, what we would do is we would make that Care Team member inactive. So I will select a date as prior to today and hit Save. And now that Care Team member appears as an inactive Care Team member. Additionally, if this Care Team member had another staff taking over for their caseload, what we could do instead is remove the exit date in this example here, and I will save so that they're back under active. What I could do instead is choose to edit, and from the list of users available to my agency, I'll select the new member who's taking over for the previous member. And again, if they have any email information or phone numbers that they would like to be public, and you can toggle the public button or toggle it off if they don't want that information to be visible to other agency staff. If I hit Save, and now I've replaced my previous Care Team member with my current Care Team member. And once again, just as a friendly reminder, the Add button to manually add Care Team members is also only available to agency administrators. Again, I want to draw everybody's attention back to the access role rights chart that we created that's linked in the Google Doc, and that will give you a nice handy breakdown about who can add, edit, or delete Care Team members. That's a little bit newer of a feature. Going back to my Programs tab, I'll go ahead and open my Assign Staff tab within the program, and I can see it's available here. And again, because I'm an agency administrator, I can do the same functions here by adding, editing, or deleting Care Team members. Let's go ahead and move on to the Notes tab. If I wanted to enter notes at the program level, I need to be within my program enrollment. You have your enrollment navigation menu. You'll find your Notes tab. This is where I'm going to go ahead and add a note. And all staff members, if you have data entry access, have the ability to add a note. If I wanted to create that note, I would do so. I can also select the lock icon if I did not want anybody outside of my agency to see this note. If I have an existing note under the notes history within the enrollment, I can also see who created it. We can always play around with the show high fields to manage how these fields appear. And if I hover over these paper icons, I can even see a snapshot of the note that was included. If I click on it to open it up, that's again where I will always find the edit icon. So if anything is incorrect in my note, that's where I would make those adjustments. I could click on it, and once again, I can determine the privacy settings here and make any edits. And if I am an agency administrator and wanted to delete this note, I can open it up, click the three dots, and select delete. Now we're going to move back to the client navigation menu because you'll also notice that you have the notes tab here. And once again, this will show you all the notes within the record, both entered at the program level, but also here at the agency level. Any notes that are entered here at the agency level are going to be viewed by all agency staff. So if you don't want that to be the case, but you still want to enter an agency level note, you can go ahead and create the note, but set it to private so that only your agency staff can view it. And reviewing the notes that were entered either at the agency level or program level, what I'll need to do is hover over the door icon here to see which program the note was entered under. I can open and edit any notes that were created by my agency staff. My agency is OC Training Agency, so I can click on that. And once again, I have all the features available to me here. Any staff of any access role type can edit the client notes. But you'll note that because I'm an agency administrator, under Show More Actions, I have the delete functionality. Moving on to the alerts section. Under the public alerts, we're going to find that now within the client navigation menu. So no longer do you have to find it within the notes section. You actually have its very own tab here under alerts. As Hugo mentioned at the top of his training slides, you'll be able to note if there's a public alert simply by viewing the client information bar. You'll see that button that appears there, and the number will indicate how many public alerts are available for that person. If I wanted to get to this public alerts page, I can do so simply by clicking on the public alert button, and it will take me to the public alerts page, or I could click on the alerts button on the client navigation menu. If I were going simply using this button up here, I can just hover over it. You'll see that it provides a snapshot of all the different alerts that were registered for this client and are active. And it also shows me when that public alert expired. I can simply click the caret drop-down icon to see who created that note, and I can see the note included with the public alert. If you're like me, I prefer to see everything available to me, so I'm going to click on the Alerts tab. Here is where I can actually add a new public alert and edit any existing ones. Anybody with any data entry level access can click the Add button here to go ahead and create your public alert. That'll need to have a title and an expiration date. Once again, just a friendly reminder about public alerts to use person-centered and trauma-informed language when creating your title. You also want to use public alerts when it's time-sensitive or urgent things like you have a housing meeting for a participant and you can't quite locate them. In terms of the expiration date, please also make sure that you are not setting them too far out in the future. So please try not to set public alerts that are extended beyond that 90-day period. And once again, with your note, please use trauma-informed language and don't disclose sensitive client information. If I wanted to view the note, edit in the note, or delete the note, I'll need to go ahead and click on it to open it. I can see a snapshot of that note information for the client alert. You'll see the title for the public alert, the expiration date, and the note included with the public alert. You'll click the pencil icon to edit the public alert. or set it to private. Once again, if you're an agency administrator, you'll see the More Actions icon available to you so that you can delete those public alerts. And that concludes the information for the public alerts. We'll go ahead and move on to our last feature here, which are the Files tab from the Client Navigation menu. The Files tab appears as that paperclip icon. From the Files tab, I can see all files added to the client record at both the agency and program level. I can see the title of the file, who created it, the date it was uploaded, and even hover over that paper icon if I wanted to actually see a preview of that document. I can use the search bar at the top here to search for a specific file just by keyword searching, or I can use the upside down triangle to add a filter. And perhaps I wanted to make my search easier by searching for files that were added by a specific agency. Additionally, you'll note this extra icon here, you can configure the sorting. So I have a couple of different files that are added here. What I can do is change the order in which they appear on my screen. I can order it by upload date so that the earliest uploaded file will appear first. Or if I wanted to by file category, I can do that so that coordinated entry documentation would appear first because C is first in the alphabet. So if I wanted to open up the file, I could do so here to view the options to edit or delete. As you probably already know, these options are only available to specific users. All users of any data entry level type can click the edit icon to edit the document that's already uploaded or set the file to private. However, as you probably already know, the delete functionality is available here only to agency administrators. And that concludes our demonstration of the Care Team Notes, Alerts, and Files tab. All right, to wrap up our training today, I just want to direct you all and invite you to complete our Clarity New Interface training survey. The feedback from the survey is going to be used to improve the content of quality of this training and future trainings. So really would appreciate any feedback that you can take the time to provide. It does help us. That's linked here on the slide, but it's also going to be linked in the Google Doc within the chat. And we'll now move into the remainder of our time with the Q&A session of our training. So we can go ahead and review the Q&A box. You're welcome to add your questions there or in the chat or raise your hand.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for joining us for this training today, and thank you for staying on a little bit longer. We know that our meeting time is has ended, so we just want to encourage everyone to review our recorded training when we send out the recap, and please send all your questions to your agency admins and they can escalate and submit a ticket to our HMS help desk and we can support with any additional questions you may have. And if your team may want any additional support with walkthroughs or guidance around the new interface, feel free to coordinate with your agency admin to submit a ticket to our HMS help desk. Thank you again for those who joined us. If you haven't yet, please enter your agency name into the chat for attendance, and please keep an eye out for that recap newsletter, which will include all of our recorded training materials, which is our slides and this recording.